Hi Ashwin, welcome to the iRonik show, man. Do you recall this book? Do you
Of
recognize
course.
this?
It's in my dreams.
Like we talk about cyber literacy, cyber awareness, AI literacy has become the need of the hour. So,
Definitely. It'll just
okay.
go. You just need to upload your images. It does the training. You don't need any technical knowledge. You just need to know who do you want to create and what do you want to create. It'll create for you.
Wow, scary again.
It's kind of almost digital colonization, right? So everything
Yeah.
we talk is known by companies in the US. So right now it's friendly and good. One day, if US and India wants to go into war, US knows every single thing what every Indian wants to do.
What prompted you to write this?
So okay.
If I have to, ask you to jot down top five reasons why one should read this book.
Right, that's a good way to wind it up, right? I think we need more people like you to bring out these conversations. Not just
Thank
AI,
you.
like not just with
Thank you
me,
so much.
but diverse kind of topics which are relevant and which are not spoken about.
Few weeks back, we did a podcast on artificial intelligence with Advocate Saakshar Duggal, but it was more from a legal point of view. This episode today with author, speaker, and entrepreneur Aswin Chandarr is more to understand the technical aspect of artificial intelligence. Ashwin has just authored a book, Inevitable AI, which, personally speaking, could be a handbook for anyone and everyone trying to understand AI and more precisely, generative AI. This discussion is a bit more technical. If you want to understand more about artificial intelligence, more about the technical part of it, this episode is for you. And anyone who is interested to understand generative AI, this episode is for them. Giving to you Ashwin Chandar on the iRonik show. But before we let you slip into this episode, do not forget to subscribe us on YouTube and follow us on Instagram. Enjoy. Hi Ashwin, welcome to the iRonik show, man.
Yeah,
Uh,
hi Ronik, nice to be
so
here.
before we start, let me show you something. Do you recall this book? Do you
Of
recognize
course.
this?
It's in my dreams.
Congratulations, Ashwin. Before we start, before anything else, what prompted you to write this book?
Right. That's a question I get asked a lot, right? So the main thing is so I was into technology field for last 15, 18 years. I was in robotics and
Bangalore. You are in
yeah.
Bangalore. You must be in
Yeah.
technology.
Currently in Bangalore. So I was in the Netherlands for last 14 years.
Oh,
So I was
wow.
there. I did my PhD and my MBA, everything there. So I started my company. I was running good. So few things I realized when I was doing these companies, right? So it's not about technology, but also bringing technology to people. So I was in a CTO role, so it's about talking to the investors and talking to clients and talking to other people, but about the same topic, but in a different way, in the way people understand,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's to simplify things in different applications. And then when last year, 2 years around, the chat GPT and other suddenly things boomed, like people are suddenly talking to me, okay, is AI going to take over the world? What's happening with us? And like, what will you do? All these things. And then I realized that I have been doing AI since the time it was not even called AI, right?
Yeah.
So I know what it is and what it's capable of, but there is no clear picture. So I talk to enterprise leaders, I talk to normal employees, professionals, or people from all walks of life, like
Mm.
lawyers, policymakers. Everybody had a different view of AI and very skewed, and it's not a complete picture. And the other part was there is constant stream on social media, LinkedIn, Instagram, wherever you see, oh, AI is doing this, that. But if you just look at AI from just single information point of view, it can scare you. And it can give a biased opinion. One people like, oh, this is
Mm.
highly, it's an euphoric and it's like great, and other people like, no, this is very scary, it'll take over the world. But there's no real picture, like the true picture of what it is. So then I realized people in technical world they don't have enough time to bring out with it, and there are people in philosophical world who talk a lot but without knowing the exact technological aspect. So I really want to bridge the gap. So that's why I took a break and I want to write a like a grounding book. It's just if you can read through it, it's very practical, but also gives a history and also the future. It's a comprehensive book
Right.
covering every aspect. So how can everybody use it? What can it actually do? What can it not do? All of those things, so that everybody gets a clear picture. so we as society can use it responsibly without being scared. That's the main reason for writing the book.
So, if I have to ask you why, we'll talk about in detail about the technological part, but some really basic stuff. Why do you think there is so much of noise around AI? I mean, as you rightly mentioned, we recently, so before the podcast as well, I mentioned to you, we recently have done a podcast around AI, but that was more of a, because it was with an advocate who is into cyber laws, artificial intelligence laws. What if there is a deepfake of you that is being made? So how can you cater to it legally? So we touched upon the basics of AI, the basics of ChatGPT, the basics of generative AI. We'll go into depth about all
Hmm.
these things in today's podcast. So there also we happen to touch upon this, why AI has been there for long, right? It's not a very new concept. It's not a, I won't say groundbreaking. It's groundbreaking, but it's not a new concept. So why this sudden noise around AI, and why is everyone? I mean, why is everyone looking to get onto that bandwagon of AI? Be it the largest of the enterprises, be it in India, be it globally, be it anywhere. Everyone is trying to get into that bandwagon. Why? Why is it suddenly this splurge of and this
Right,
surge of
right.
getting into the AI race?
So it's a good part, right? So what? So in AI, there are only, let's say, I would say two main parts of it. One are the algorithms, and one is the data. So
Hmm.
previously, like for example, if you want to do face detection, right? So they've been trying to do like say 15, 20 years ago. So you need to really craft how is a face. So the engineers sit and craft. So they say this is an eye. The eyes are spaced this much distance apart. There is a nose and mouth, and they have to craft everything, right? So even though they craft so much of things, it's still not accurate. So you might get 60% accuracy or whatever. But because the data was very sparse. And last 10 years, right, with the smartphones came. So everybody started can taking pictures. And
Yeah.
then let's say Instagram and everything came. So everybody started posting pictures online. So, and the third thing, the cloud, if you see, let's say last 10 years, the cloud migration is almost 80% there, we can say. So what happened was the data was one ubiquitous. It became 10x, 20x in the last 10 years,
Yeah.
and was available publicly. So this spurred the develop engineers to just upscale the algorithms. So the algorithms we see right now were there in a primitive form. They tried these algorithms even 30 years ago, and they said, okay, this is great, but it will not work because we don't have data and we don't have computation. So now
Hmm.
with both data available and the cloud, which is being ultra ubiquitous, then it's just scaling up the algorithms to put it together, and they just train millions of images together, and now we can let's say detect and face with 99% accuracy. That's
Hmm.
one fundamental difference, right? And second, they figured out that the same algorithm which you want to process images can also be used to process text. So instead of trying to make an algorithm only to understand text, only to understand images, they had a unified system, and that suddenly made it very powerful. Now you can combine both text and images together, and that is, let's say, one of the fundamental breakthroughs, which made the sudden huge talk about AI, because they become one uniform system to process anything digital,
Yeah.
right? So that's why, let's say ChatGPT example of first, you give a text and it'll give you a text back, right? It's just
Yeah.
a text generation machine, and slowly they migrated to you can give a text and you can also give an image back, right? But what also can do is you give an image, it will also give you text back. You can ask questions about the image, what is there, what's happening, what are the colors in this image. It also does the other way around. And then if they showed this concept works, and this concept was working, let's say 5 6 years ago, Nvidia made a generative AI demonstration, but it was very primitive. You can look at it, say it's a fake image, but then the realism of it kept improving, and right now it's very hard even for me or our experts to identify AI generated work versus the real human
Hmm.
generated work. So that's the core reason we figured out that there are so many applications with this kind of technological breakthrough. So and that's why everybody is jumping on it, because there is enough number of applications to be built upon.
So I have a background for data centers. So what exactly you mentioned, that there are millions of pictures, millions of texts, millions of videos, audios that getting accumulated, and the reason is that these large enterprises now have huge data that which needs to be stored in a data
Used.
center for
Yeah.
right. So to be stored in a data center where all the social media companies. So even if I am using suppose Instagram from Delhi, I should be able to use it whether I'm using it from Delhi, whether I'm using it from Dehradun, right?
Yep.
I shouldn't feel the lag, right? So that's why they are trying to come close to the customer. They are trying to be, so all these large US based social media enterprises, they have data centers in. We will not talk about the detail about, just giving you a brief. They have stored their data in India because of the
Right.
localization policies, and similarly in
Hmm.
other countries, so that the customer has a better UI UX feeling, and the better they don't get the lag of, I mean, if the data is coming from I mean, from a distance. Similarly goes with all these OTT players, the Netflix of the world, the
Yes. Hmm.
Hotstars of the world. Now getting back to again AI, you might remember that around couple of years back, Netflix had come out with a series. I don't recall exactly, Black Mirror or something,
Black Mirror. Yes.
wherein Black Mirror, where they had given you, I mean, it was not up to that mark, but at that couple of years, think about the situation couple of years back, it was, oh, it was like mind boggling. Okay, dude, what's happening? I can choose the ending of this show. So, what do you call that? Is also AI?
uh, so okay, the questions are two things. So one is the imagination of what can it be done, right?
Mm-hmm.
So a dystopian future, and again, what's actually in practice. So one thing what people miss out when think of AI is, as read in a book, they kind of try to they fail to distinguish human intelligence versus AI intelligence. So they think AI can do everything human can do on its own will. What's very interesting to understand is that AI is still a software tool, and there is no intention or there is no incentive for it to work on it on its own. So
Mm-hmm.
it's still controlled by humans. So it's same like a car. A car is a powerful machine, but it cannot go on its own. So though let's say now it's autonomous driving, but still a human has to say where do you need to go. So they just don't have intent to go themselves for any reason, right? So it's the same way. So humans, or let's say AI is a powerful tool, right? So for example, you had autocorrect in your phones, right? And then you have
Golden,
not
yeah,
just
yeah.
autocorrect, but auto suggest. So it just suggests the next words. So it's an, you can say it's an advancement of these things, but still you need to figure out what you want to do with it, and that's something we should be very aware of. So they all the media say overhypes that okay, AI will create zombies and things which will just do on its own, figure out things, but it's just not possible from even a theoretical perspective. They don't have a will to do things on their own.
Let me just counter it. It could be a bit of a stupid question, you may think.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so maybe 3 4 years back, we had no idea that AI could be used to a certain extent, wherein
Mm-hmm.
there could be an Ashwin sitting in
Mm-hmm.
Bangalore, and
Right.
parallelly there is an Ashwin sitting in, say, somewhere in USA, right?
Mm-hmm.
A deep fake of you has been created online, which is, talking on behalf of you. We would have
Right.
never thought about it, right?
Indeed.
But
Yes.
today we can see what's going on. Crimes
Mm-hmm.
are being committed, right?
Yeah.
There are YouTube channels which are making money out of making deepfakes of celebrities. There are so many things happening out of it. Now, is there any possibility, have keeping everything in mind, how this robots or the how the AI algorithm can develop, is there any possibility in the upcoming future where these machines, the robots or these interconnected machines and everything, they can start talking to each other, and they can now try and negate the human command?
Right. It's a good it's a good thought exercise, right? So to imagine how what's happening. So indeed, see, listen, I'm not denying that there will be virtual machines. So let's say there can be a hologram of me sitting in USA which will look exactly like me, and but it can be programmed to do a few things. But on outside, you will not see it's programmed. You will feel natural and things, right? But
Hmm.
and there can be a robot sitting on a beach somewhere doing stuff which can do things like what I do generally. But again, let's say talking, yes, okay, they can talk same like machines talk, right? APIs is what talk makes a machine talk. That's possible, but again the intent is missing. So for example, let's say if they want to take over the world, right? So then the robots talk together, okay, let's you do this part, I will do this part, let's take over the world. But again, what's the force that drives these robots do that. There is no innate force which drives a robot. But it can be possible if some human entity, if somebody who wants to misuse this technology or an
Hmm.
organization, they can give this intent to the robots, right? So they say, okay, you go on the street, make a lot of deep fakes. So they can program a machine to create deep fakes of me 100 times, and that can make sure they can talk, they can say one deep fake can talk to other things to say, okay, I'll make different contents. That's possible, but it's still driven by humans, and that's something, one, we should be avoiding it, and we should put regulations around it, because it's still a misuse of power. It's same like an antisocial element misusing a bomb, or misusing fire to just lit a fire on a house, than just using fire to cook in a controlled way. So it's just about misuse of technology, but from a fundamental theoretical perspective, robots cannot act on their own.
So, like today, the robots and the machines are learning on their own, which is the IQ part of it, the intelligent question
Hmm.
part of it. So, is the day too far when they can also start learning about the EQ, human intelligence, emotional quotient?
Uh, it's okay, right? So you can, on a surface level, learn, because even now you write a text and
Hmm.
the chat GPT
Hmm.
can say, are you sad, happy, or ecstatic?
Yeah.
But again, it's just about text. It's a single dimensional interface, right? And if you realize, if you understand, human emotion is not a unidimensional thing. It's sometimes people can look happy, but you feel that they are sad inside, right? So and that's something which is highly human. Also, I read in my book, what should machines be good at? They'll be really good at.
Yeah.
And what should be humans good at? So humans are really good in understanding emotions, empathy, and also understanding each other, right? So machines can infer emotions, but it's very hard for them to get the EQ as human level, because one, it's not a one dimension. It's just not a image and a text and a video. There is much more to it, right?
Hmm.
And again, let's imagine the thought process, right? So if I talk about, imagine sitting on a beach on a breezy day with the waves passing by. You feel it, right? So you can imagine it, you feel it in your senses, and you can transport there mentally. But these words, if I put it to a machine, there is no emotion to it. It's just series of probabilities. Okay, what comes next? Okay, what comes next? That's the only thing to it. So that is, the words trigger emotions in humans, but the words trigger only probabilistic responses in the machines, and that's why they cannot be getting the real EQ as what humanity has.
Another, I mean, this is all out of curiosity, right? I was
Hmm.
waiting to ask you this question. So, in a recent,
Hmm.
post, Ankur Warikyu, the social
Hmm.
media influencer, so he was talking about that he and his wife were talking about going to Japan.
Hmm.
No, there was one of his friend who had mentioned something about there is this sleeper brand called Neiman's. You
Hmm.
might have heard about it.
Yeah, yeah.
Neiman's, right? The founder is a friend of Ankur Wariku's. He figured out that our phones today can hear whatever we say.
Right, true.
Whatever we say, the phone is picking up. So what they did, they sent out a couple of people across India to various cities, and these two people only had one job: go to each and every place wherever possible, in the elevator, in a mall, in an office build, commercial setup, wherever, and just talk to each other loudly. Hey, dude, is that a Neiman shoe? Hey, dude, okay, you just bought Neiman. So they tried doing it, and they don't have any actual study to prove the fact, but they claim that after that exercise, after 1 month or 1.5 months of that exercise, their organic reach to the website and sales increased by around 20%.
Wow.
So now coming to
That's
my
true. Hmm.
coming to my question, I tried replicating that. So I tried telling my phone that I want to go to Banaras. I actually want to go to Banaras. We are planning to go really soon. So me and I and my wife, we both, to each other's phone, we started saying that we want to go to Banaras, and I actually saw, I think on Instagram or somewhere, they were showing some sponsored clip of Varanasi.
True. Hmm.
So
Yeah.
now with AI getting to that level, I have the Amazon device at my home. I have the Siri in my phone. There are Siri that
Mm-hmm.
Alexa, the home pods and everything. So
Yes.
everything is there. Now, is it not scary that it becomes difficult that whatever you're talking, right, in your home, in your private time, right, with your kids, with your wife, the the machine is picking it up, and you have now become the product. They are picking it up and they are throwing you ads around that. This is also machine intelligence. This is also artificial
Yes.
intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
What's being done to us, right?
Yes.
So there is a very popular saying that if something is free, that means you are the product,
Definitely.
because nothing
Yes.
in this world is free.
Mm-hmm.
How would you? What would be your? What is your thought around that? All these Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, WhatsApp. I mean, everyone is listening to us. What's your thought around that?
See, on a fundamental level, I think it's ethically wrong. uh, because they claim the first thing, right? So they claim that we will give you personalized experience, we will show you what you want. That's what
Hmm.
their mantra is. That's what they claim that to be beneficial to you,
Hmm.
right? But then, as I realize these days, there is nowhere where you can be private. Sometimes you just talk about it, right, and it just comes in. I have seen not just you. I have seen it multiple times that I have never searched anything about. I talk 2 minutes later, I get the same ad. Both me and my wife. That's something which nobody declares. And when you talk to these people in these companies, they say, we are that good, we can know your thoughts. But I know it's not the case. You are just listening to our conversations, right? And so it means we are constantly being bombarded by salespeople, and not just sales, right? It's just identifying what you are, who you are. It is modeling, continuously modeling,
Hmm.
and that will lead to information bubbles. So you'll be only showed information what they think you want to know, and not what you or like say what you really want to see. And that I see it's a big difference of why the internet was devised, right? So when we started, it says it's open web, so we can get to choose anything in information we want. But now it's been restricted. So what I can see in Google from my phone in India is what I can see from my phone somewhere outside. Or if you search for same terms, what I get and what my wife gets are different. And that's not free information, right, anymore. And I think that's something fundamentally wrong in terms of how the internet is moving towards right now. So you can claim it AI. It is AI, but again, it's directed by humans to actually the big companies to track
Yeah.
and find out what you want and give them these things. And there is that my point is there is no regulations against it. Nobody talks about it, and there is no government saying this is beyond your limits, right? And even more thing is, it's kind of almost digital colonization, right? So everything
Yeah.
we talk is known by companies in the US. So right now it's friendly and good. One day, if US and India wants to, like say, go into war, US knows every single thing what every Indian wants to do. It doesn't matter if he's in a village or in a city. Anybody who has a phone, the US knows everything. And that's something private, like say, because if they talk about privacy rules, they talk about what you see online. So they say we track what you do digitally, but
Hmm.
nobody
Hmm.
says we track your voice, we track your images, everything. And they constantly track where you are, the GPS. And now with your watches and everything, they track your health. So everything you are is known digitally to somebody else without your explicit permission. And that's the scary part, and that's something ethically wrong.
Scary and exciting at the same time probably. Okay, we'll leave it as of now. Let's
Okay, I'll
like
get that one last point, right? It's
yeah.
exciting as long as you give explicit permission, right? So if I want to
Yes.
see how my body, like my health is in the future, I give permission and they tell me how it is used. I'm glad. It's great. Technology is great. But doing
Hmm.
it without a permission, without knowing even you are doing it, do this, that's wrong. That's the only part.
See, just to add on to
Hmm.
what you said, even if when you talk about giving permission, right? So if you remember when you used to install those XP in your system, uh, 10 years back, you're installing
Yeah,
Vista or XP in your computer. There was a I don't know how many pages were there, because no one never read through the entire that privacy policy. You just went next, next,
click
next,
it.
next,
Yes,
next, and felt
exactly.
like
Yeah.
that you are the Bill Gates. right? You just press some buttons and
True.
then you're giving permission to everything. So now also when something of that sort will happen, even if they are asking for permission, you don't know what permission are you giving in. Because if you are not
Right.
giving permission, because every app you download, they ask permission to access your phone book, access your
Right.
messages, access your photo gallery, everything. And if you don't give, there are
Doesn't work.
certain
Yeah.
restrictions on the usage, doesn't work. So okay, we'll leave it. I know it's a huge discussion in itself, we'll leave it.
Yes.
So let's talk about a bit about generative AI now.
Hmm.
So I always thought, if today if you talk about generative AI, the first thing that comes to your mind is ChatGPT,
Hmm.
right? But I have a very fundamental question. When we Google is the king of the internet,
Right.
right? Because every single data is with them, right? So why? And similarly, when ChatGPT is giving you a customized view or customized response, it's scanning the entire internet and then giving you that customized response, right, in a quick matter of seconds.
Hmm.
When a company like Google, which has access to all the data, everything, why they lagged behind in creating something like ChatGPT? Now, obviously, they have Google Bard, but I have not heard anyone who has said that Google Bard is way better than ChatGPT or what. Even I have to draw a comparison. My first question is why they were not the first one to come out with something like that.
Hmm. Right. Yeah. Hey, so that question is on the answer is on two different aspects. So one, right? So what ChatGPT did was kind of risky in the beginning, right? So for example, there are no guardrails. So if you do like 2 years ago when ChatGPT was first released, you can ask it, can you help me make a bomb? It'll give you answers. It'll give you make a bomb. Or it'll say, how do I hack a computer? It'll just give you everything, right? Answers. So and OpenAI was nobody. It was just not even a commercial company. It was just a research organization. So they can dare to do that. But let's say if the same thing was released by Google, they had such a big backlash that okay, a company like Google is enabling people to create a bomb. Because you are so big and you're responsible and you're also a public company, it's very hard to release this. For example, Microsoft released a chatbot based on learning from tweets some 4 years ago, and there are so much issues that oh, it's racist and all different things. They had to pull it back in the same few weeks, and this is a problem with big established companies, though they had technology and enough thing to do so. They had a reputation problem for their core businesses, right? That's one issue. And OpenAI, when it came up, they'd have no problems at all, no restrictions. If they fail, no problem. Doesn't affect any business. And second, it's also a culture of innovation, right? So how do you think fundamentally? And yeah, and it needs a lot of focus. So if you look Google in terms of AI things, they acquired a lot of companies even 10 years ago. So there was companies of DeepMind who were doing a lot of um, reinforcement learning, which is used still in these technologies they acquired. So technologically they knew what to do, and they're good. But I think it's an complete and a mindset or a culture of I want to invent this, I want to push the boundaries of what's happening, and pushing boundaries always comes with ethical quandaries. So, for example, OpenAI, they just took everything available online, process it for their own use. And there are lawsuits against them. But if Google does that, they have faced antitrust issues and a lot of things across many places. And that's one other problem. And also, the mindset was that this is my search is my core focus. I want to focus towards that. And that was their whole thing. And only when they realize that the risks can be avoided and then we can work it out,
Hmm.
then they
Hmm.
started jumping into this. And by the time the core engineers, the how do you say, the creative engineers, right, creative technical people, they were all across different companies, and that's why it's hard for people like Google to do that.
What did then ChatGPT do right? What they did exceptionally well, which has now placed them on the top pedestal of the AI, this AI race.
So they actually made it very simple to use, right? So Steve Jobs said, any technology is good that you don't feel it's magic. You don't feel it looks like magic, right?
Hmm.
So
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
they just made a chat box, right? Nothing else. When you have a chat GPT, so GPT existed 5 6 years ago, right? It's not something new. So they can
Hmm.
use APIs and connect to it in different ways. But they made as simple as a chat box. That's it. You can ask questions, it'll give you answers for everything. And that's one thing which made it very powerful. It was not like Google search engine, lot of interfaces, nothing much. It's just simple text box, and it could generate human-like responses so smoothly. And now, of course, if you look 2 years down the line, it's improved. But when the first time it was
Mm.
still a bit sketchy, scratchy, but it could just show what can we do. And that's why in the first 2 months of release, it just went crazy. Everybody's like, "Oh, I want to try this," and that's the main reason of it. The simplicity.
Do you happen to have any idea what exactly struck Sam Altman to build ChatGPT? What exactly went through his mind that he thought, let's bring something out like this?
See, the problem again with the so okay, one thing interesting in ChatGPT is evolved to a stage because the users are using it, right? So
Mm-hmm.
there's a difference between software like Google or Microsoft and the software like ChatGPT. Software like Google is a static search bar, right? The search bar doesn't change the way you interact with it, all right? And that's the thing of anything static. And Microsoft Word doesn't change how much time it doesn't matter how many clicks, it doesn't change. But chat gpt you can train to an extent, but it can be only improved with user interaction. So it's a double whammy, I could say. So one, he realized that if you want to improve it, you need to bring it to the market, however rudimentary it was. So it was not perfect, but you need to bring it to the market, and only then it can improve. Because how much ever they can train, they can only improve it by users doing it. That's one. And I think second thing for sure is that the GPT was in development in as an API form for long, and they realized that let's just try it out, right? So it was part of let's say Microsoft Word or something. Then people don't realize exactly what is AI doing, and they say let's just make it as a publicity storm to see how it can work out, to bring it to customers, consumer. So generally AI was given to industries, and that's how it seems generally. So any new technology, it first comes to industries and then to consumers and then it goes to military, right? But then it was upside down. Let's say they first bring it to customers to bring a huge say knowledge about it, and then let's figure out how to make money out of it. So first time they just made it for free, right? They didn't even charge it.
In ChatGPT, as you mentioned, that GPT existed 5 6 years ago. What exactly is GPT? I mean, let's say you are talking to a 10-year-old and you need
Right.
to make him understand, dude, this is GPT. So what would you say?
Hmm. A 10-year-old, right? So let's say okay, in the simplest words, it's a machine which understands what you speak. As simple as that,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
It's in a simple words, or it tries to make sense of the words, what you individual words, to a coherent meaning. That's exactly what happened. So it can be words or images or Excel sheets or videos. It makes
Hmm.
sense of these raw things into what you want to achieve out of it. That's an
So
top level understanding.
today, what, where can I use, in which all areas can I use ChatGPT? And
Hmm.
if I am using ChatGPT for something positive, I mean, for my own work or something, there are people who would be relying on it for doing something, evil. So
Definitely, yes.
what is the limitation? Where is there a, I mean, where is there a boundary? Okay, ChatGPT can do only within this frame. It cannot go
Hmm.
beyond this.
Right, so okay, and so this GPT I said it's not something limited to OpenAI. It's a technology, right?
Yeah.
It's like same like an email client. So you can get email from Google or Microsoft or Zoho, or anybody can get
Mm-hmm.
email. So GPT is just technology, and there are people building interfaces around it, and there are so many companies, right? And there are also people who are giving it open source, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if it is just chat gpt, they limit on what you can get out of it. So if you ask can I make a bomb, it says sorry, I cannot answer you. So that's explicitly programmed by the OpenAI on top of the core engine. But if somebody gives it open source, and they can make a private gpt, right? So you only subscribe to pay for it and it's not public, and you can ask that machine, it'll give you answers how to make a bomb. So the that's why I constantly argue against open source these technologies before there is regulations around it. But in terms of ChatGPT, you can use it to do let's say almost everything. For example, understanding presentation, creating presentations, images, social media posts. Let's say even videos will come soon. There'll be new videos coming in soon. And you can use, but the context of what you use is limited by the company. So the OpenAI ChatGPT limits misused of it, but there are other companies who just open source, and you can even host your GPT on your own computer, and you can ask it to do whatever you want. There are no limitations for it. You can create deepfake on your computer easily. There's no limitations. There is no regulations on it, and yeah, it's about how people use it. That's the bottom line.
So constantly you mentioned one thing, that there are no regulations around it. So why there are no
Hmm.
regulations? Say, when something that can really, uh, technology is a double-edged sword. Whenever new technology comes in, it's a double-edged sword.
Right.
People will use it for their benefit. People will use it for personal benefit, which can harm others. So don't you think that regulation should be the first thing that should be looked into?
See, regulation always is lags behind. For example, let's say cars, right? So before you even invent cars, you cannot regulate a car. Because only if you figure out what a car is, then if you want to make it popular, then they say, okay, I want to make it safe and not misused and all these things. So regulations always lag behind a little bit. But the difference is that the speed of technology is not this rapid. So when cars developed, right? So when the first cars came out, till there are a million cars came out, there are 50 years. So in that time, okay, they realize, okay, this is what it's used, so it's regulate before it becomes much more popular. But with AI, it grows so fast that we are just lagging behind a lot. So like the governments still actually don't know how to regulate, because if you put too much regulation, it will stifle innovation that you cannot, let's say, develop anymore. But if you don't regulate at all, you will just let's say it's uncontrolled growth, and how it affects
Hmm.
society wrongly, it's not in your hands. And that's the problem, to find a middle ground for regulations and to be proactive. And the governments right now are not really proactive across the world, right? So only the European Union has come with regulations last year after so much deliberation, but it's not binding. It just gives suggestions, okay, you should do like that or like this, but it's not binding. And that's a very fundamental problem, because it's hard for anybody in policy to understand even what's happening with AI technologies when things change every day. And that's something I address in my book, that is very it's an imperative for all governments across the world to come up with something proactive. So we cannot be like other technologies where regulations is
Yeah,
reactive, and this should be proactive regulations.
exactly. I mean, if we don't have something, restricting the usage of chat gpt or any other llm, uh, it can create chaos, right?
Definitely.
See what will happen. There is a hindi proverb, बंदर के हाथ में बंदर क्या जाने अदरक का स्वाद यार. There's something like बंदर के हाथ में लंगूर के हाथ में अंगूर,
Yes.
something like that. So which, if you have to translate in this meaning, that there could be people who are using chat gpt for something, maybe they are not doing it intentionally, right? But if chat gpt has given them a prompt, right, they try and now utilize it without having the exact knowledge about which, without having the detailed knowledge about it, and then something can go wrong, which
Yes,
will then put them
definitely.
in a position, right? So giving an example, there are a lot of youngsters who are now creating defects because it's just there. You can
It's fun for them.
just,
Yeah.
it's fun for them actually, and you don't know the legalities that you can fall into, the legal trap
Yes.
that you can fall into if something, someone can, if someone files a case on you. So I will give you an example. So the podcast that I told you about with the advocate Saakshar Duggal, so he
Right.
mentioned a case wherein a guy came to him. So he's a TEDx speaker as well, right?
Hmm.
So and he gives speeches in lot of these institutes, educational institutes and all that. So one of the students reached out to him after his speech in a certain college or institution, that, sir, I have received a notice from so and so author claiming of copyright infringement. So
Hmm.
what that guy did, that guy wrote a book, published it, right? This college student wrote a book, published it, and this entire thing was written by ChatGPT,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
When he has used ChatGPT to write a book, right? So obviously, ChatGPT has taken everything from the internet and given as it is. Maybe some of the
Yeah.
paragraphs and something almost 30, 20, 30% of the book has been picked up from somewhere, and that exact sentence, exact line, exact meaning has been put into this guy's book. So he had no idea that
Yes.
I can just copy paste it from ChatGPT and I can use it. He did that, and there were several lawsuits that were filed on him.
Yeah.
So this kind of scenarios are happening when people have no idea what to do, and they are doing it for fun.
Yeah.
Because there are websites claiming now you can become a best-selling author in 21 days, 30 days. So there are
Exactly.
so many
Yeah.
things happening. Okay. So well, the basic thing is that there should be some sort of regulation and some sort of AI literacy around it, which you have also spoken in depth in your book. I think AI
Right.
literacy, like we talk about cyber literacy, cyber awareness, AI literacy has become the need of the hour. So
Definitely.
what should be done, because AI adoption is increasing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So before I let you answer now, uh, people like us who have some sort of technological background, working in technology, or we are tech savvy, we know technology, we are educated people, we can go back to Google, search for it, or ask a few people that is it the right thing to do, should I do it, before exactly going now. Think about a situation now with Llama 3, which is now
Mm-hmm.
integrated with your uh,
WhatsApp.
WhatsApp,
Yeah.
your Facebook, your Instagram, and everywhere. And people like our parents, right, who might not be that well, tech savvy, and they might not have all the understanding
Mm-hmm.
that what is right, what exactly is wrong in terms of the
Mm-hmm.
technological world.
Right. Yeah.
So for them, how important is AI literacy, and how the government, or we can ensure that they are also taught about it, they are also made aware about it.
It's a good point, as you said, that even unintentionally you can get in trouble because you don't know how to use these things. As you said, AI literacy is not just for tech savvy or engineers or who want to develop
Yeah.
AI. It's for everybody to. It's like a common legal framework, right? Understanding what you can do, what you should not do. And for example, if somebody tells about how does AI work, then we will figure out that okay, it's not thinking something new; it's just picking up from somewhere else and giving it to you. So if you want to write a book, it's fine. You can use it as a tool to write a book, but you have to give it ideas. You cannot just go to
Mm.
ChatGPT and say,
Mm.
write me a book about, let's say, cars, and then expect
Mhm.
it to give an original content. It's just picking content of somebody else. But if you say, I have a new framework about cars, these are how I think it should be working, and then can you write a paragraph about it? That's something new. That's something your
Mm.
creation, right? It just converts your ideas into polished verbal language. That's
Mm.
something. It's how you should use it. Not just write one line, write a book about a car. It just picks up from somewhere, and these are something you should be used. And the governments, basically, as you said, uh, not just governments, right? It should be part of our schools. Like I now work with schools, even from ages of 9, 10, just to teach them, okay, what is AI? What should you be doing? Not teaching them how to program it, but teaching them boundaries of creativity. How should you use it? You cannot copy somebody else. And why should you do this? And how will it evolve when you guys become, let's say, more working people, not adults? So this is something which is in terms of AI literacy. It's not the responsibility of government alone,
Yeah,
but it's a
absolutely.
response of a social thing about how do you use it, right? So for example, like say 10 years ago or 15 years ago, when we grew up, we say, okay, internet is something we can chat. There's a Google Messenger or a Yahoo chat. So they're teaching about what you can do. And they also said, okay, there's also a dark side of the web. People didn't teach explicitly how to use it because it is hard to access, right? But now it's so easy to access AI everywhere that I think we should have, let's say, podcasts like you, and even general conversations on a coffee conversations or a dinner table conversation. We should be talking about AI even with our kids in our talks in our offices everywhere. That's very thing too late already.
Okay. So another question related to this. So when someone is using a generative AI tool like ChatGPT, for that matter, any
Hmm.
other applications that we'll talk about
Right.
the other applications as well, right? So other than getting something out of the ChatGPT, there are you know, people are using it to proofread, right?
Fine, great,
Proofread their
yes,
document, proofread their presentations, uh, or whatever post that they are going to post on social media. Now, when they are submitting these documents, these PPTs, or these whatever the entire data to ChatGPT, now that is getting into pulled into the ChatGPT database,
yes,
right?
indeed.
Now that has become that has now come into the public domain.
Hmm.
So how do I ensure, and how do ChatGPT ensures that my data remains my data and does not become just out there for
Yes.
public use?
Yes, and that is something almost impossible to do with public systems like ChatGPT. There are two ways, right? So, for example, anything you put inside becomes a part of its
Mm,
memory. Sometimes not explicitly, but it's just processed and goes into the memory, right? And that's why a lot of companies, like say, ban use of ChatGPT in their work. So,
mm,
for example, in the beginning times, people used to put their balance sheets into ChatGPT and ask questions.
mm.
So then everything internal of the company just goes into ChatGPT system,
Exactly,
right? And
exactly.
then slowly ChatGPT started giving options. So if you have a paid version of ChatGPT, you can choose that, or your responses can be used to improve ChatGPT. You can enable or disable. But if you are a free version, it's by default they will use it. So, for example, in ChatGPT views, there is a option, right? A yes or no, thumbs up, thumbs down.
Mhm.
So every time you say thumbs up, it realizes, oh, this is a content which people like. So it creates more content like that. And everything what you have made it to generate is being used. Let's say if you talk about your podcast, something there, and then next month I come and ask some questions, it'll give me answers from your podcast, and I will claim it as mine. So that's exactly as you said in the beginning. If something is for free, you are the product. So ChatGPT gives an option. I still don't know how good they enforce it. It's very hard to even
Mm, mm.
somebody to go and figure out how they enforce it. But at least it says on the website that if you disable that option explicitly, that it will not be used. Your data, your chat will not be used to update its systems.
Have you come across or heard any weird story or maybe scary story? What has happened of people using ChatGPT? Have you heard any such
Mm.
experience or any third-hand experience or anything, any story that you have come across?
So, or in the beginning, right? People uh, like how asked Google, like some I heard somebody asking ChatGPT on how to commit in the when it was 3 years earlier, and they ask questions, how can I do it without people detecting it, or people not figuring out what's the best way, and what's the least painful way. All this very dark set of questions, but because there was no guide rails at that time, it was the beginning
Mhm.
stages, right? In the first 2 months you could ask it anything, it'll give you anything answers. So people made a whole document and books, and they were selling these books manually, right? That was very creepy those times. And I have not heard of people like, might be not in the news of people following that, but these are things which came out that I could use ChatGPT to do all these things. And that was,
Wow.
yeah, you can still use Google, right? But then Google, then you have to search, and Google filters some things, but there is no guardrails.
Mhm.
And now, for example, when you can use your own version of GPTs, and I have read these days in dark web there is an unrestricted version of GPT, where they took llama and they trained on entire public data, and you can ask any questions like this: how to destroy a country. Even you can ask those questions. It takes examples from before and it shows answers. And yeah, this is something which is scary to imagine, right? This can happen.
A, now, a bit of a technical question. There is Llama, there is
Hmm.
GPT.
Hmm.
What exactly are the differences and similarities between these two?
See, at the end, they are LLMs, right? Large language models.
Yeah,
So, what are
yeah.
large language models? Is just process at language at scale. It just takes a lot of words, everything, whatever data is available, it works along with it, and it's multimodal, what they claim. So, it combines language with images these days, and slowly it'll become voice. And it's just a
Could you
different version
could you
of it,
just
right?
could you just explain it a bit more? What exactly is LLM?
Okay, right. So, um, okay, let's put like this. So you have data, and let's decode what is data, right? So you have, let's talk about your podcast, right? So in your podcast, you talk about various aspects. You talk about text and different things. So what the data is there is somebody manually sits and looks at your every sentence and writes what
mm,
is this
mm,
topic about, and are you talking it's sad, happy? They describe every single thing. That's called labeling. So they take your entire podcast text and they label every single paragraph or lines and what does it do? And so then they give to this machine, which is called the LLM. LLM is just a machine, right? It's an algorithm. Don't forget the machine. It's an algorithm. So what it does, it input is your podcast extract and the labels for every sentence. There is a label of what does it mean. Those are things it takes in and it does a processing, right? It's that's called learning, training. It
mm,
just
mm,
learns and to get a good understanding of what your podcast is. And next time I say, make me a let's say an article of AI in medicine, because you talk about few different things in your podcast. It just combines few things together, and you can ask, make it a happy thing, or what are the scary aspects of it. So it just takes up the labels and gives you output on exactly what you want. So that's exactly what's called large language model. Yeah, and
okay.
imagine this is not your podcast, it's everything available online. So this, you imagine that what
Mm-hmm.
you did to your podcast and does it to every blog available online. They take every Reddit post, every comment, Instagram comment, and there is somebody sitting manually. I heard there are huge what they call AI training labeling farms in Africa where they get paid 20 rupees a day to sit and label every single thing what's happening here, and then it's just fed into the machine, right? And this algorithm is just how big can it handle. So for example, they call it 3.4 billion parameters, right? And these are the parameters how big it is. So let's say GPT 123 is like how big the model becomes. So
Mm-hmm.
the more bigger it becomes, the better it can do at certain things. It is still slow, but it can learn more things, right? So if I say in your show, I can label 10 things. So you can be talking about sad, ecstatic, rules, regulations, and things. But they just expand these things to millions of categories. And if you want to handle millions of categories, you need to have a huge algorithm. It's like if you given, let's say, simple example is like you can take a mall, you go to single shop, you just get your groceries and come back. But if you go to supermarket, you get your groceries, but you also get your whatever toys. But then you go to a mall, you get everything what you want. That's exactly how these things are. Llama 3 is a bigger, it's a mall. It has lot more
Mm-hmm.
things to do and much more things. So and say GPT and Llama are different malls.
Mm-hmm.
One can be, and yeah, whatever different malls, different varieties of flavors on how things are, and
Yeah.
trained by different people. That's exactly the difference. And the difference is in Llama they made it open source, or actually it's open access. They don't give the data on how it is trained, but they give the model so that you can use it for your own purposes. So I can take that model and I can just train it on my legal data, and it'll just work on only legal data. And GPT is not open source. It's just you can access it, you can ask it questions, it'll give you back, but you cannot take it and train on your own thing freely.
So, in that sense, does it make Llama more adaptable to the dark web?
Yes, very much. I have been constantly talking about how why open source at this stage is not a good idea, um,
Hmm.
because it can be misused. There is no regulations, right? It's talked, it's still coming up. So if you give it for free, people can use for anything wrong, and um, it's not responsible to give it open
Hmm.
source.
So
And
let's
I
just delve.
also write about why Meta is giving this as a free, right? Because it costs a lot
Hmm.
of money to train such a model. So it's not cheap
Hmm.
to make
Hmm.
this model, right? It takes infrastructure, people, energy, collecting data. It costs few billions, more than a billions to train this model. Why are they giving it for free? So they claim it's for advancement of technology, which is I think it's only a marketing side to it, but they feel that so the more people use it, they contribute, they make it better, right? And if you look in terms of business of what Meta is in, it's not
Hmm.
as an open as a Chat GPT or Open AI where they provide these interfaces, right? The core object, the game of Meta is in advertising and say social media. So what my guess is they want these models to become more and more better, and if they give it for free to people they will use it. It's like some open source, they'll contribute, they'll improve instead of just their own people. There'll be different kinds of applications coming out of it, and then
Hmm.
they will use it to create social media ads which look actually real. So my guess is in 3 years, not even 3 years, in 1.5, 2 years, because Meta has all the data of your own user
Yeah.
interactions, right? They know, and they also have all the ads ever created, right? So every ad created is on their platform. So and they know which ads work better because they have all the data, engagement rate, purchase, and everything, right? And then if they make this llama type models very robust and reliable, which is tuned by public, right? So by using as open source, they just need to put it together that now a new brand will not even will you don't need digital marketing people. You just need to say this is my product. I have this much money. They'll automatically create ads which is different for every person. The ad you get is different from ad I get, and
Hmm.
the ad I get now is different from the ad I get in the night. And that's where they make their most money, and that's why they're giving the llama for free for people to train and make it better and better so that they can use it in their own systems. They don't want to make money just by llama like how ChatGPT is doing, but they want to make money in ads through a llama kind of model.
So basically, you're saying that Meta is giving this Llama 3 free on your, and they have very strategically placed it at a place where you can, whenever you open the app, you will get to see it,
Yes,
right? In WhatsApp also, even if you're searching, you can just go there. And so will it, I think maybe 6 7 months down the line, there could be a scenario wherein Meta will give you a prompt that you have not texted your this contact for so and so, for so and
yes,
so days, so please say hello, right? Like what we see in, if you have noticed, I don't know if you have noticed, if there are some of your Instagram or Facebook contacts wherein they have put in some news stories and you are not a regular visitor to their profile, it starts throwing at
yes.
you that this person had put in a story, this person has put in a, so that you go ahead and check that out, and more time you spend on their platform, the better for them.
I'll tell you
Okay.
why. Okay, I'll just break you here, right? Why is Llama 3 scary in terms of WhatsApp, right? It reads
Hmm.
all your messages
Yeah,
constantly
absolutely.
and it learns how you text, right? So it'll be very easy to write some messages to look how you wrote it. So
Yes.
it'll be very
Yes.
hard for me to distinguish what is I wrote or machine
Right.
wrote. And they say
Right.
I'll give it for free. As you said, you are the product, right? And they can be misused everywhere easily. And that's the scary part. That's why I disable AI tools everywhere not needed.
Yeah. No, no, no. Just delving more
Hmm?
into that. It's not only what you write. It's also the you. We use WhatsApp for our exchange of photos, videos, documents, whatnot.
Everything, yeah.
Very personal things like your. You might also share your OTP.
Yes,
If you're somewhere out,
yeah,
you're just giving out the OTP. You're saying many of us share our bank account details when sharing through WhatsApp. Several other details. And if Llama 3 is sitting out there quietly, it's doing something in the backend, it's taking all those things.
yes,
Now what happened, what happened during this last 5 10 years back, that all these telco companies started giving out your data to these callers, other enterprises, wherein you started getting so many calls regarding
yes,
insurance, regarding loan and whatnot, right? Now if that level, and this is getting more deeper into your life, this is
yes,
getting more personalized for you,
yes,
what you're chatting with your friend, what you're chatting with your spouse, what you're posting in your family group, what kind of documents you're sharing, what kind of images you're sharing, it's all getting in their database. How do we then
the
protect
effect of this will
ourselves?
be what will happen. For example, if you're talking about, okay, I am struggling financially, right? You chat about
Hmm.
your friend that, okay, I have this problem, or you're
Yeah.
chatting, you'll get an ad about your loan. So and it's even more personalized, right? So I know they track, if you just search for a loan, it'll come back, you'll get ads, but then you just based on your chat, you'll just give you ads, and they will claim they're independent, but not all your systems work together. So, and if you talk about,
Absolutely.
yeah, what school I should put in, you'll get ads about schools. So, in some time, Meta will be this machine which people think I don't even need to sit and make campaigns. They'll say, I'll generate you sales, you just pay me money. It'll just come to
Hmm.
that point. That's a very scary part, and there we need to really draw boundaries And as you said, something is for free. It's you are the product.
Now suppose you have a friends group, right, wherein a couple of your single friends are talking about going to Bangkok,
Yes.
right? And Llama 3 picks it up and somehow throws Bangkok related details to your feed, and your wife says it, right? You'll get bitten left, right, and center without any fault of yours. Right? So I'm scared at this point. I don't know. I mean, the it could be way larger than this. What's
No, this is
exactly
happening.
going
This is
in the back
exactly
end?
happening as you talk.
Yeah.
It's really happening. Yes. And this is exactly what we should be aware of. And it's not just so in terms and conditions that I will use information to improve our system, but it's
Hmm.
propagated across the internet. So you what you do in WhatsApp is propagated on Instagram and Facebook and other things what you browse and the ads you see. It's just an ripple effect.
So let's break down both these GPT and Llama 3. There are
Hmm.
various layers to it, right? Like infrastructural layers, right? Where in the backend they are using GPUs, higher powered GPUs
Right.
to train the
Hmm.
models. Then there is the model training module.
Hmm.
Then there could be the software module. So could you just, on a very high level, help us understand what are the different layers to these
Okay. Perfect.
LLMs?
Okay. So let's say two parts, right? So let's first talk about training. So in training, what they do is they collect data, and there's a huge bank of data which we don't have access to. The data and the
Hmm.
labels, which we
Hmm.
talked about. So the data and labels are collected together, and it is used to train these algorithms. So they sometimes manually train, tweak, and the model is how do you say like an engine, like a car engine, right? As simple as that. So it's the car engine, but just an engine, you cannot do anything. You cannot sell a car, right. So what they do is they put layers on top so that the model is hosted online, right? So very simple. And then to access these models, they give APIs. So this API is something you say, this is some information, give me response. So you ask this
Hmm.
model. So that's first outer covering layer. And just APIs, or as you know how they work. And then on top of, and these things are hosted in data centers, right? So the algorithm is a software,
Yeah.
so it needs somewhere to live. So these things are hosted on computers, hosted on data centers, and when they need to run, because they need to process millions of information simultaneously, right? And as fast, you need to have instant information, so it needs so much of GPU power. So these computers, the CPUs, where the APIs go through, use all the GPUs to compute information back. That's where the infrastructure layer is happening. So people build a model and they host it. It can be on AWS, on Yota, or anywhere where people are hosting the models. And then a lot of people are bringing APIs to it. And the APIs are still like say command line tools. But if people want to use it, they create let's say websites, interfaces to it. So for example, ChatGPT is a website to connect your typing to an API. It still works on APIs, but they have an visualization for API. And there are some more tools. For example, these days, if you use Microsoft Copilot, there is no physical chat like tool, but it just has buttons. So it just reads what you write in your Word document and automatically says improve like this. So it's still using the same API, but the external out the final interface is different. Or for example, in your WhatsApp, how you're using Llama 3, it automatically connects. So when you say, "Hey, I want to wish a unique birthday to my friend," it that connects to the API where Llama 3 is hosted and gives back the response. So these are the core layers to it. So there is a model which is an algorithm, nothing more than that, and it's hosted. It's a software, simple software. It's like um, Microsoft Word, right? It's a Word or an Excel, but it's a software hosted on a cloud, and it can be repeatable. It just has multiple copies because it's so many people have to access it simultaneously. It has multiple copies in the cloud. And then there are APIs and there are interfaces. These are the only layers in any AI system.
So, on a very infrastructural part, these models are using to train the model. They're using GPU in the backend, which is
Right.
basically the
Yes.
graphic card,
Hmm.
for which we saw that Nvidia's stock prices that
Yes.
increased rapidly, and they are now the highest valued company
Yes.
in the world.
Hmm.
So, this rise of AI
Hmm.
has benefited such companies. So, is there a factor that they are also, pushing the adoption of AI globally? That they are also pushing it to large enterprises like your Meta or others. That you come up with a model, we'll give you the GPUs to train your model. So are they in the backend? Do you think that they're also trying to push the AI adoption to a certain extent?
I think it's the let's say the other way around, right? So the GPS have figured out is a good way to train these models because they know they need a huge amount of parallel computing power. So the
Yeah.
GPS,
Yeah.
if you look, they were designed for AI systems. So they were designed to make your graphics gaming smoother. But then it turned out we could use it for this particular application.
Hmm. Hmm.
and and also Nvidia has been the pioneer in showcasing these applications, right? So 6 years ago even Nvidia showcased what an generative AI can do. So those days they have segmentation, what they call. So you give an image of a natural scene, so they will segment the sky, they will segment what's water, they will segment what is a image. So this Nvidia has a team to show what it's capable of doing, but they're not in the business of commercializing these applications.
Hmm.
So they show to people, and then it implicitly trigger, oh, you can use GPUs to do these things, and somebody commercializes this. So it's how do you say? It's same like showing what can you do with your machines, and then somebody figure, okay, I can do something more. So then they order more and
Hmm.
more
Hmm.
machines. That's how it works. And I think still, let's say the last huge jump in Nvidia stock is still speculative. People thought, okay, there can be so much applications, what can be done, but then they are now slowly figuring out, okay, what is hype and what is real applications. Might be the adoption is a bit slower than what we thought, because of so many allied issues of copyrights and privacy and all these things.
Hmm. Hmm.
And what's the real value in enterprise? So why should somebody pay for it instead of just for having fun conversations? And that reality check is coming in, but it's not, according to me, it's not a hype, it's not a bubble, it just go away. But we are
Hmm.
in a big hype cycle, it'll just fall down and slowly increase to have a real fundamental value.
Let's talk about more about the generative AI. As of now, for the last one hour, we have been talking only about ChatGPT, which is
Hmm.
the text related part of GPT. Now, in generative AI, now we are seeing music being created, right, in different singers' voice. We are seeing so many deepfake videos. We are seeing reels being created for social media. So what various applications are there of generative AI? What applications are being
Hmm.
are being used in day to day life that you come across?
Clear. Right. So before getting the exact applications, let me give you a background in which you can even figure out yourself what our applications can be. Right. So what this generative AI fundamentally does, it bridges our textual typing, what we think, to anything digital content, right? So why, as we start in the beginning, why suddenly this AI GPT is big craze? Because it has a unified framework for processing
Hmm.
text and anything digital. So what it does is bridges our text. So the way we both communicate right now is through language, right? That's how we pass on our thoughts. And now we can pass on our thoughts to the machines, right? So then we said I can type to generate a text. One more is I say, can you generate me a good LinkedIn post? That's asking text to generate a text,
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
right? So now then we say, hey, can you generate image to show a child playing in the beach? That's a text, it converts to image. So what will happen right now is the text will be your input to your system, and anything digital you create can be the output. So uh, the why was a text the first outcome? Because it was ubiquitously available. The amount of textual
Yeah.
information online is the most massive, right? So the first text to
Yeah.
text came. And second, there's so much of images available online now, then images are coming now. And now they say now we can do videos because so much of videos, YouTube and all these things, it's coming videos. So you can imagine anything stored digital will be created by AI. So for example, PowerPoints. When somebody gets access to millions of PowerPoints, AI will create PowerPoints based on text. You just have to chat with it to say I want to make a PowerPoint. It'll create a
Hmm.
PowerPoint for you. Or same thing, it's not limited to music, right? So we talked about music or we talked about deepfake. It's just not limited to it. For example, people are devising proteins with generative AI, right? So
Proteins.
proteins, so vaccines and
Okay.
protein structures, amino acids,
Uh-huh.
right? So even DNA. So now the genomics, DNA is all stored online, right? So it's also massive amount of data. So now there's a company started last month, or it came out last month. You can chat with it. I want the protein structure to be energy efficient, but also very strong skin-like structure. They're chatting with this DNA-like structures. So then it'll come up with 10 different structures, which will then we need to go and sit and verify these things, right? And they're devising medicines with it. So create me a combination of whatever compound to solve this particular problem, right? So they're basically chatting with systems to create medicines, and that's why. So you can imagine anything digital you stored will be done by generative AI. So for example, spacecraft design or cars. So there are people designing cars saying that I want to have a car which will be used for teenagers but is highly energy efficient but also flashy. They just chat like this, but it creates the
Mhm.
models for them. So that's the way to think about it. It's just about the amount of data and computational power, but everything you have stored digital till now will be done by generative AI.
Which website are doing this? I mean, text to image.
Text to image, there are so many things, right? So Mid Journey is one version,
Mid
which
journey.
yes, don't get scared of what you just said.
I was scared. So should I go to explore?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
So here you can see all these are AI created.
Okay. Create an image of, say, Salman Khan with 8 pack abs. Will that work?
Yeah, yeah. So it's submitted, it'll be loading and it'll just come up in some time.
Okay.
So in some time we can just go and try to see how does it work. So if you I think we go to create on the left
Yeah.
bar, I think it's still loading or something. Here, see here, this is what it thinks.
Okay. Not real life image.
But then you have to create and you have to explicitly mention, give a real life realistic lighting. He's standing on a beach. Then it'll
Okay.
just come.
Okay.
So you have to
Okay.
create exactly what you want, right? So now
So,
these are coming like videos. So you take this image, right? And then you give it to video and say, video creator and say, now make this guy flexing his muscles. Then he'll create a video of
mhm.
flexing the muscles. So, and then that's how it comes up.
So is that how? So how is this deepfakes been created using these applications?
So these exact websites don't give you deep fakes. So
Mm-hmm.
what like say the models, what they can do is, for example, I can take Llama 3 on my computer and I can give, let's say if I want to create a deep fake of a comedy like Salman Khan, right? We talk about Salman Khan. So what it just
Mm-hmm.
needs to do is I need to take 100 images of, or no, just sometimes 30 images of Salman Khan, and then give it to this trainer and say train whatever, understand this face and things. And once it does that, you can write make a image of Salman Khan in talking in a parliament, right? Just example. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So then it'll create a first a picture of Salman Khan talking in a parliament, and it look exactly like him because in the what Midjourney is a public domain, right?
Right.
So it doesn't cannot provide you exact features. But if you take it inside, train it separately, and there are some websites which provide you deepfake. So you can just say, give me a one image or 10 images of a particular person, and then you type what you want that person to do. It'll create an image, and then you just take on top of it, you just create videos of it. So for example, recently you heard the Taylor Swift for Trump campaign. That's exactly what they did. uh,
Yeah.
Write this text and then give it a video and then say all the Swifties talking about Trump. That's it, it comes out, and you just add some subtitles and you have deepfake. It's as simple as that.
Wow. So basically, you'll have to take that LLM model into your system, maybe
Hmm.
the paid version of it, train it according to what you want to create, and
Hmm.
then get the desired output. So it's not
Yes,
I mean,
exactly.
if you have a fair idea about the technology, you can easily create it.
And there are some websites, if you just Google, I don't want to be talking about it, you can just create. There are some websites who provide this solution for you. You just say how to create deepfake. It'll just
Okay.
go. You just need to upload your images. It does the training. You don't need any technical knowledge. You just need to
Mm-hmm.
know who do you want to create and what do you want to create. It'll create for you.
Wow. Scary. Scary again.
Yes, that's scary. That's something I want advocating for regulations. That why they should not be open source, right?
So is that what all AI, generative AI can do at this point, or this is beyond creating images, deepfakes, texts.
Mhm.
To what extent is the use of generative AI going now?
So two things, right? So let's say conceptually to understand text. Just by understanding text, it can do a lot of things. For example, I use AI to understand contracts, so or my insurance policies. So, for example, you can because they're huge documents, right? But you need to understand what is it.
Mm-hmm.
So you can upload a policy, an insurance policy, and ask how much is my cover. If I go to this hospital, how much will they pay, and how much will I pay, and when will they pay? You can ask these simple questions, and then it understands the
Mm-hmm.
documents and give you single answers what you want to do it. And for example, I had to do a recent legal issue with some things. Then they said these are the acts you need to look at it. So then I download these particular acts and I gave to chat GPT and tell me how should I file a case, what should I do about it. It give me answers, understand legal documents because it's just. And I told give me in a normal person's language. So it understood the legal document and give me in the language I understand. So these are some things which are quite useful applications of just understanding text. And for example, it can analyze meeting notes, or it can just take a huge article of newspapers and tell me what's happening here. So there are so many applications just by using text. And for example, it's also used in medicine. For example, they
Mm-hmm.
say you should not trust it, but along with the doctor, it can say these are the symptoms and what could the diagnosis be. It can give some answers based on that instead of trying to google for these particular symptoms pointing some website. It's an inference thing. So these are some things. And some people are even doing post an image of a scan, like there are
Mm-hmm.
specialized tools. So you post an image of your MRI scan and say is there some issue with it, is it normal or not normal. You can detect your problems with it. So these are some lot of things which you already do, and we are just scratching the surface of the applications, uh, while we can still figure out new domains of data, right? So all these things what I said can just be done with text and image, right? It's not just to create deepfakes. It can solve a lot of problems, scan our health issues, things. And apart from it, you are creating more and more types of data streams. So now it can create video games. So now there are people creating video games just through AI, and it'll create music or it'll create even DNA. So those are things which will come over time. But just with this thing, there are so many applications to be built.
So, as a normal person, wherein in my day-to-day life, where can I use AI so that I can manage my time effectively?
Mhm. For example, okay, if you're a programmer, right? If you're like sometimes I say I'm stuck here, what should I do? So I can just give a piece of program and I say I want to, let's say, simply write an API to upload an image. I can just say that, and it'll just give a code for it. You don't have to go and sit Google search for Stack Overflow. It just give you a code for it. Something very simple. Or if I'm looking at somebody else's code, I can just give a function and tell to ChatGPT what does this do. It'll give me step by step of what does it do. There are simple things to use AI tools, right? And apart from it, you can create social media posts. Say I want to talk about this particular aspect, and
Mm-hmm.
you can create bullet points, right? So I don't say you just say I want a social media post about AI. You just say I want a social media post and I want to talk about regulations and, for example, proactive regulations and few bullet points were discussed, and make me a nice convincing post. It'll generate a smooth flowing textual post. You can be doing that. And I use it for helping a lot of people. So for example, if you're creating a brand, I want to showcase healthy aspect of fruits, so generate me a banner image for it. So it gives an image which I can use it directly on the website. Or I can say I want this website, what should the different pages look like. I can do that. Or you can ask I want a social media calendar, can you give me suggestions of what should I post. It can give you different varieties of things. So there are so many applications which you can use in everyday life, which will make your life faster and quicker.
Okay. Uh, so now getting a bit more technical in terms of we have been talking about generative AI for our regular day-to-day usage. Now, when
Hmm.
this technology now handshakes with robotics,
Hmm.
right? So let's talk about the example that I repeatedly give because that's a recent movie that I watched, Teri Baaton Mein Uljha Jiya, wherein real life robot is created which acts and talks like human. The other only thing is that it needs to get charged and it can uh, it can download a virus from certain websites or something. Do we see a future that same future really coming up very soon, or is it
Uh,
already there are prototypes which we common people like us don't know?
See, there is something for sure which you don't know. Might be you should check. There is something called Unitree humanoid robot. You can just check it online right now directly. So this is a robot which is just cost 15 lakhs. It can walk around the house, jump, climb steps, and lot of things. Right?
Mm,
It can see you everything. And these robots, see, they are developed, but it's not as common. One is the cost, but also the utility, because it's very hard to make a robot do your household chores, of picking a plate somewhere. This is very hard problems, but
mhm.
it's coming, right? So I would say, let's say 10 years from now, you could see more robots common in households where you'll just walk around, bring your stuff, or you can just talk to it and say, uh, what's happening in this thing, or let's say order something for me. All of these things it can do, like it as a physical form. So you have the intelligence of ChatGPT, like the conversational intelligence, and the body of these robots.
So again, my same question, like we saw in Planet of the Apes, the rise of the
Hmm.
Planet of the Apes, do we see that time coming up when these machines will talk within themselves, and there would be an entire universe of robots, and they somehow conspire to eliminate the entire human race?
See again, right? So okay, this brings me to very fundamental questions of intelligence itself, right? So what distinguishes a mountain from a human, right? Though you can see the atoms, what the mountain is, a rock is built on, the same atoms we are built upon. But the if you don't have life, which I'm not saying we are discussing about, it's a more spiritual aspect to discuss what is life,
Mhm.
but life is something which gives intent to these molecules, right? So let's say these few atoms become somehow molecules. These molecules join together to bring an organisms, right? So it became amoeba. And then if you look anything which life, there is an incentive to survive across time. So that's why when something dies, every organism, right from a single celled organism, it divides,
Mm,
it replicates. Uh, the intent is to survive and do things better than what it can do before. That's the magic of life, I think. And that powers everything what you have done till now. So if you look, everything we've done till now is we are incrementally doing things on top of each other. So two atoms become molecule, two molecule become a cell, and two cells become a small tissue. And these things give to all organisms, right? So they have a
mm,
natural intent to live, procreate, survive, go on. And that life is not there in robots, so there is no reason for robots. So why does it want to take over, right? So the human, let's say we had wars because one human wants to take over the other resources to have more control, to let's say bring his progeny stronger in the world. So robots don't have that innate intent, right? So that's why robots themselves cannot talk to each other and say let's take over humanity. But it could be that, for example, a company which releases robots say, I want to take over the world, then they let the robot program the robots to do this. That can happen. That I'm not denying. So if we let monopolistic companies like any big software companies, they also bring robots,
mm, mm.
and we let them completely control. They can program these robots to talk to themselves, take over the world. But robots by themselves, without human control, they cannot do it.
Mm. My last question on generative AI. Uh, can you please list down 5 generative AI applications that you personally use in your day-to-day life and which can benefit others as well?
Mhm. Right. So I use ChatGPT a lot
Yeah.
for day-to-day things, simple things like rewrite, paraphrase, understand what I said, right? So to understand legal documents, whatever. And there are tools like Flux.ai. It's recent. It's also free. You can generate hyper-realistic images. It's just sometimes to stoke my creativity on what can it be done. So the book
Mm.
cover you saw, I also used AI tools to generate the book cover. So I did
Okay.
myself. And there are things like a runway. Runway is a tool to generate videos. So it can generate hyper realistic videos these days. So the videos are like 10-15 seconds. It can generate videos. completely. And there are a few things like this Indian company. There's also Suno.ai, which generates music.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and it can just brainstorm how music is done. And there are a few more things which is assorted to create if you want to create social media posts or actually to create videos. So if you want to create an complete video by just giving a text, it has people talking like the lip sync of how you do. I don't use it explicitly, but I have just tinkering with it to try what's happening. These are fundamental things I use, but
Okay,
just with Chat GPT, I use it for a lot of different applications, as I told you, to understand documents, to contracts, and let's say to even teach something to people. So as you said, like sometimes if you want to teach some concept to 10-year-old, I ask explain this as 10-year-old. Then it'll explain gravity, how to explain to 10-year-old. Or I can say explain the same gravity to 5-year-old. It'll also give me ideas. And I also use it to generate personalized birthday messages or wishes, these kind of things to make it more creative, right? So
okay. Uh, let's talk about now uh, the aspect of what's coming up in the future. I mean, we'll obviously talk about a few things, but uh, what kind of jobs, what kind of new, very out of the box jobs that we are looking at that will be created because of AI?
so there are a few things about like they'll be called AI trainer jobs. Somebody who gives in new topics and to tell AI this is right, wrong. Labeling jobs
Hmm,
they'll be
hmm,
created, and few more things they call it prompt engineer, but I think it just glorified. Just somebody who just uses the system. Anybody can become prompt engineer, but that's very common what people talk these days. How to get the best out of an AI system, to learn to give different text. You just cannot write a book about AI, but you need to write
hmm,
about more specific things and get a step-by-step approach. First, give me chapters, and for each chapter sections. Then there's some things how to use AI systems. That'll be something which coming, and there'll be more things like AI evaluators. So when the regulations come in, somebody sits and evaluates: is it responding right, or there are wrong information coming out?
hmm, hmm,
What can go wrong? So basically, AI testers, AI evaluators, and for example, my feeling is if the governments do it right in 5 to 6 years before any AI model is released, same like you go for an ISI certification, it'll go for
hmm,
a same certification system where there'll be somebody sitting and
right.
evaluating these models and certifying safe for public use. These kind of jobs will be coming up, and more things like let's say just an AI consultant who actually, let's say a single entrepreneur can generate a whole website just using AI tools. Right, so he can create a website, create a brand, logo, content, everything just by a single person. So these are something exciting which come, and AI in politics. So political AI consultants will be coming up. So they'll create AI based campaigns, all of these things. Yeah, it's just limited by creativity what you can do.
So, don't you think that too much dependency on AI or too much use of AI can somehow tinker with your the cognitive intelligence that a human has?
Uh, Indeed, that's a fact, right? So, for example, I give this analogy that 500 years ago, our
Hmm,
ancestors are very strong. They could lift higher, heavier things. People built
hmm,
temples, or people built pyramids, or
hmm,
huge churches without having fancy tools, right? They are very strong. But when machines invented that cars and cranes can lift heavy things, our general strength just went down, right? Because we don't use it, but our mental strength goes on because we figured how to use cars, how to use cranes. And now when AI is still a machine which does mental tasks, right? So it does, instead of you writing a whole blog, it can just write out things based on few ideas. These kind of things, there is a danger that humans will lose ability to come up with creative writings, creative articles. And there's some balance we need to say how much we use AI. So we can, one aspect is you can use AI to just do your boring job, so you can focus on creative things, right? So you can
yeah.
just write emails with AI, so you can create new ideas how to write. But if you don't do that, if you just keep using AI constantly, your mental acumen will also fall down. People forget how to make a new painting, how to write. Same like somehow. Uh, you are using keyboards and typing so much, sometimes you forget how to
Hmm.
write in paper, right?
Yes,
Sometimes.
yes, absolutely.
So this can be extrapolated. Sometimes you forget how to draw because AI draws for you. And that is a real danger, and that's a good balance we need to be keeping in mind. How much do you use AI and when to still keep your creativity?
Uh, do you foresee job loss, particularly talking about the Indian scenario? Do you foresee many job loss because of AI adoption in the across industries?
Definitely. A lot. It's a big problem. So, because, for example, a big portion of Indian, let's say, knowledge industry, right? Knowledge workers. So, analysts, financial analysts, data entry people, they are doing repeated jobs, repeatable mental
Hmm,
tasks, right?
hmm,
And these are things which AI is getting really good at. And these are the first jobs which will be gone. For example, customer support. Now, if you Google, you see so many companies offering automatic customer support using AI tools. So, if somebody can give fast customer support with AI tools, why would they want to have a
hmm.
huge
Yeah,
manpower to
yeah.
organize companies, right? That's one. And analysts. So, with I will not say all analysts will go away, but one analyst with the help of AI tools can do a job of 10 guys. So, the rest
Hmm,
of the nine people will be going out of jobs. Uh, Same like programmers. So, now actually, if you want to build a website, you can just if you know how to orchestrate a website, you can use AI to just generate a code very quickly. So same way, junior programmers who are doing very say entry level programming, one programmer can do a job of five programmers. So that
yeah.
four people jobless. So and in that's how it will happen. So the bottom layers of the entry level jobs, you will see in next 3 4 years, huge amount of people will be rendered jobless because the companies can do it themselves faster.
So on one hand, you had mentioned that new jobs would be created, but those jobs would be typically, if I understand better, it would be typically for people who have some sort of knowledge in that domain, right?
Right.
I'm talking about a lot of these unskilled people who are doing some odd jobs, some chores that are being carried
Entry
day
level
to day,
jobs, let's say.
entry level jobs. So if those are completely taken away, so is government looking at? I mean, obviously, government is keeping an eye what on the adoption of AI, on the rise of AI.
Mhm.
But do you think there is something been done, or what should be done to protect employment of these people? Because
So this is a
if
mhm.
people start going out of jobs, then AI would be not the thing to worry about us. Then there will be many larger things that we need to worry
It's a
about as a
there's a ripple
society.
effect, right? So suddenly these people
Yeah.
who depend on, so we forgot the primary sectors, like even like say whatever agriculture, whatever primary sectors, we all
Hmm.
migrated to these
Hmm.
entry level jobs, and when it's gone, it's a big problem. But I will tell you why it's a problem, right? So whenever new technology comes in, there's always job loss. So people say, for example, when
Right.
industrialization came up, when factories came, they said, oh, the
Hmm.
weavers were going out of jobs. But it was a slow process, right? So it became over generations. So for example, somebody who's weaving manually, by the time machines came and took over, it was a generation. So it took 10, 20 years. So his son realized, okay, now if I take up weaving, it's no point. So I will
Hmm.
take up how to use a yarn, right? That's what they learned. But now with AI, it's going so fast that within a generation, it's changing twice. So now, within 3 years, you have to suddenly change your profession. That you say whatever I
Yes.
learned is suddenly become useless, and I need to jump. That's why it's a bigger problem. The speed at which the job loss happens. Technology always creates job loss, but over generations. And if we don't look it up seriously, and if we don't give incentives for companies to somehow re-employ them, we'll have a problem. So, but also while I deal with a lot of enterprises, right? So how they should adopt AI, it's not just new tools they should use, but how to reorganize people, how to reorganize their workforce so that it not trigger too much job loss, but it will create a good value for the company. That's something I do workshops and do consulting with companies. So because, for
Hmm. Hmm.
example, if you understand what humans are really good at, what machines are good at. So you reorganize the workforce to do things what humans are good at.
Okay.
For example, right? It's a hard problem. For example, if AI can do programming much better, you take the programmers and then figure out how to invent new solutions, new programs. How do you solve new problems, right? So what are new problems to be tackled? So you put them there because AI cannot create something new. That's a fundamental aspect. It cannot solve new problems. Only humans can solve. So and you put them there and use AI to do the boring jobs. So in that way, you don't create a massive job loss, but the companies can also progress faster. So if you find a nice balance, then it's a win-win. If you don't, if you just suddenly say fire 100 of your junior programmers, then we will have a problem in the years to come.
Thank you so much, Ashwin. We had a really, you know, deep technical discussion around AI and around generative AI specifically. But before I let you go, if I have to, uh, so this book of yours, Inevitable AI, if I
Mhm.
have to, ask you to jot down top 5 reasons why one should read this book. I mean, what exactly that, what is the USP of top 5 USPs of this book?
Okay, right. That's a good time way to wind it up, right? So one, to dispel your fears uh, about AI. To know what is it, to know what can do,
Hmm.
what cannot do. That's one. And if you are an entrepreneur finding out what are new avenues I can do with AI, that's something you should read. Or if you are an investor to figure out how to invest my money properly, you should be reading it. Or if you want, let's say, a regulator, a policymaker, or even
Yeah.
a parent to understand how should I bring up my child, what should I be talking, how should I give the awareness to say enable my next generations. You should be doing that. Or anybody who wants to be responsible for the future generations, right? So if you think the choices we do today reflects how our next generation will be using AI and how the technology evolves. So anybody who's curious about this and contributing should be reading this to give a complete picture. That's as simple as that.
So thank you so much, Ashwin. Thank you so much. It has been really, learning curve for me. There is so much to learn from people like you who have been in this industry, in this domain for so long. And thanks for writing this book. Actually, it will help a lot of others. So before we let you go, any parting thoughts around AI or overall general how was your experience on the overall conversation?
Yeah, it's a very it's a unique kind of chat talk show I have been dealing with you, and thank kudos for it because sometimes it's time bound and sometimes it's topic bound, but you had a
Right.
free flowing thing on a complete picture. It's not limited. It ranges from this, as you said, right, a complete picture and core technical details to a high level philosophical thoughts,
Yeah.
and and I think that also brings out, let's say. The essence of things from people like us, right? So when you have a chat, you have a lot of new things which even trigger my thoughts. And I already have a few lot of thoughts, right? New blogs and like say a few more
Exactly.
chapters in books. So and it's something very and also you made it very nice for your audience as a wide chat. So it's not a boring technical primer. And I think we need more people like you to bring out these conversations, not just AI,
Thank you.
like not just with
Thank you
me,
so much.
but diverse kind of topics which are relevant and which are not spoken about. And keep doing that.
Thank you so much, Ashwin, and really hope that this becomes one of the bestsellers. And congratulations again on writing this book. Thank you so much,
Thanks a
man.
lot,
And
Ronik.
I look forward to meet you sometime soon.
Yes, we'll be in touch.
Thank
Okay,
you.
sure.